What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Littleroot Lessons, episode 207. I'm Ro, and I'm joined here by both Jay and Carter. We got the whole gang together for a weekend. Let's go.
I'm back, baby. Let's go.
We missed you.
We did miss you.
Yeah, that was your fault for recording on a Friday.
That's what we get. That's what we deserve for wanting to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which that was a painful Super Bowl to watch. So.
I disagree.
You're telling me I pushed my bet in the over.
You tell me I also pushed.
I don't bet, so I was just mad that the Ravens were in it.
No, I feel that.
Because they would have won. They would have won.
So my favorite moment of the day, and Amanda told me that it was going to happen. So I watched the game at my in-laws, and she said, "You're going to go. I'm going to walk in, and the twins are going to be like, it's Auntie Mandy, do nothing." And then you're going to walk in, and they're just going to get up and immediately walk over to you and do like uppies. Sure enough, she walks in. They're like they're playing with their blocks or whatever. They couldn't care less. I walk in, and both of them just come up running up, and it's Uncle Angelo, and they just want to be carried everywhere. And then Weston took my glasses and then yelled in my face because I didn't give him my beer. I told him when he's over.
Bad influence.
Yeah,
on the children.
it's the art on the can or something. I don't know. Pretty colors.
Tiff's best friend has a 4-year-old daughter, and as soon as I walk into the house, she runs up and goes, "Uncle Tartar, uppy!" I've been home for literally 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I love baby Charlie. She's adorable.
Yeah, that was pretty much me with Weston and Camden. But we aren't here to talk about sports for once. Actually, for those of you who don't like our sports talk, congratulations for getting through another NFL season. You don't have to hear about it from us until next September.
Yeah, the USFL starts next month, so...
My cousin played in the USFL. He retired, but yeah, fun facts.
Also, Survivor starts in 10 days, so...
Yeah, that's a you thing, though.
I love Survivor. I will talk about Survivor all I can to anyone who will listen.
I think anyone who goes on Survivor is crazy.
Dude,
I
I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Serious help.
Seriously, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I know you would, because you're crazy. So, since we did record on Friday, we did miss Dortmund regionals, and while there's already been a lot of coverage on it, we do want to just hop into it, talk about some of the top teams, what did well, what trends we've continued to see. Overall, at this point, this is post Dortmund. We're at a dead zone in events until the beginning of April for EUIC, so we're going to get a little break from coverage, which is nice. So for the last time in this month, let's go to Lab Mouse and take a look-see at some regionals. So the top Pokemon this week are pretty much as expected. Last week, Fluttermane still on top for day 1 usage, with Ogerpon Wellspring right behind it, over 50%. This is, they're the girlies of a healthy meta, and I love these two Pokemon so very much. Incineroar locking in 3rd in usage, followed by, again, the usual suspects, Single Strike, Urshifu, Tornadus, Raging Bolt, Rillaboom, Amoonguss, where is the cursor? There we go. Rapid Strike Urshifu, Fergarath, Landorus, and Ogerpon Heartflame. So just looking through the top 12 Pokemon, I think the big thing to note for me is there's just a lot of grass types in this meta, and that is kind of crazy, especially when you think of metagames such as Regulations B and C, where the best grass type was Terra Grass Iron Hands.
So, actually, interesting fact about, Iron Hands, if you sort by win rate, and then go down to, mons that have, more than 10, Iron Hands is, the highest winning Pokemon at 57%.
Yeah, Iron Hands actually has 36 Iron Hands actually has a really, really good win percentage. And this is something that we've mentioned in the past, but sorting through the data this way is a way to try to figure out if there's a Pokemon that might be like a diamond in the rough. Seeing a Pokemon with especially 6.5% usage with such a high win rate that, like, okay, so Iron Moth with just one, or even Garchomp, that's just a single player. Even Okidogi with six, six Pokemon like times used with only like a 1% usage, that is an example of someone had a really good Okidogi team and they were carrying this win rate. This is a serious number. This is a hashtag team effort amongst the 36 Iron Hand players. So this could be a Pokemon to keep your eye out for if you are going to EUIC or playing in any local tournaments coming up.
Yeah, there's one highest placing Iron Hands is in 16. There's another one in 19 and 20 and 21 as well. 23 has a like Sunroom team with Venusaur and Iron Hands here, which notably Venusaur was the highest like win rate mon, but it only had one player. So 70% win rate because of day twoing and then finishing top 32 is pretty okay. But yeah, there's a lot of Iron Hands here in top 32.
Yeah, and I think the other mons that we just have over here that also fit into this, Porygon 2, Chi-Yu, and Komao also have, I wouldn't say significant usage, but notable enough usage, and they also have some pretty high win rates here. So again, these are just some other Pokemon that you want to keep your eyes out open for. P2 could be coming for Fergaref's Crown in terms of top normal type Trick Room setter, which there are a lot of in this meta. By a lot of, I mean 2, but that's 3, but that's 3 more than usual. Chi-Yu is also on the rise. This was a Pokemon that started off super, super hot in Regulation C, if you remember at the start of that meta, died down, and then towards the end of the meta really, really found its place on multiple teams, whether it was hyper offense or balance. And I think we're going to see the same with Chi-Yu here. And Komao is just a Pokemon that I can't seem to figure out using myself, but people do well with it. And so, again, 18 Pokemon, like 18 of them were used with about a 55% win rate. That's pretty solid, with one of them actually making top 8. Speaking of top 8, we can just talk about very quickly about the top teams. First of all, congratulations to Florian Temme, or Tem. I'm not German, so I don't know. Florian, congratulations.
Tem, I believe.
Yes. Florian ran a very standard, the standard 6 for the Fergaref Blood Moon team that we saw early in the meta. The big change that he made was, instead of it being an Assault Vest Incineroar, he went with the Parting Shot Safety Goggles variant. The Safety Goggles really helps you with the Amoonguss matchup. Amoonguss being a Pokemon that, depending on the composition of the Fergaref Blood Moon team, could single-handedly shut down Blood Moon. I'm very happy to see Blood Moon win. Back in Regulation D, I know there was a clip that Carl made of the 3 of us gushing about this Pokemon, and to see it finally get a regional win is huge.
I feel like it's just got incredible power. Just so many strong offensive attacks. Hyper Voice is great spread. Blood Moon is just ridiculous base power. And then obviously Earth Power is a really good meta choice. Something else I really like on this team is that the Incineroar is running Throat Chop on it. This
really
as a
good
way
against
to
all the Hyper Voices running around.
Yeah, against other opposing Blood Moon matchups, opposing Farigiraf, which we actually don't see any others in the top 8 outside of Florian's, but obviously must have been helpful throughout the run, and just also really good into other Incineroar to shut down opposing Parting Shots.
I kept sawing all of the Raging Bolts here. I'm like, oh, there's a Giraffe. That's clearly the same thing.
No, it's a Giraffe. It's a 2 Giraffe meta.
It's the priority Giraffe, though. There's an anti-priority Giraffe, and then there's a priority giraffe.
It's literally not a giraffe.
That's a giraffe.
Brachiosaurus.
Those are very different things.
That's a giraffe.
They're all the same. They're both yellow tall things, so
yeah,
it's
they
fine.
Bring me joy.
It works.
Nick Schrott came in second place with a Gouging Fire King Gambit team featuring Porygon 2, which is a new wrinkle to this archetype. I've mentioned this many times. If you have played New England VGC in Regulation F, you are either a Blood Moon boy or a Gouging Fire girlfriend. I hate myself so much after saying that. So
do you want a second take at that, or do you want to
it's in the ether. I just said it. It's in the ether. We're rolling with it, anyways. So to see that Pokemon come in second place to the Blood Moon is super cool. Gouging Fire is another Pokemon that I think the three of us saw a lot of potential in, and to see it win and to come in second, and to also just have it's a Pokemon that's just generally been increasing in usage. I wouldn't be shocked if this 6 here that Nick ran, which we can just quickly pull up. I wouldn't be shocked if this is a 6 here that again ends up doing super well at EUIC. One of the things that I think you'll see with a lot of these top teams, the goggles on King Gambit, this is a Sword Stance Double Dark King Gambit with safety goggles. This team has 3 Amoonguss Spore immunities already built in without having to Terra, and that's just super important. I think at this point in the meta, Amoonguss keeps on climbing and climbing. Amoonguss does very, very well into multiple teams in the format, and so if you don't have ways to switch into spores to try to slow down the pressure that Amoonguss puts out with the sleep threats, along with the ability to ignore its redirection as well, then you're going to really struggle. And Nick's team, it's honestly filled with Amoonguss hate.
And I like the way that Porygon 2 fits into this team. I'll talk more about the core of Pokemon here a little bit later, because I've been playing with basically the same 5 Pokemon outside of Porygon 2 a lot recently. But I think that when we saw the Porygon 2 Como teams a lot more, they really struggle with hitting Golden Go, and this team has a lot of good answers into Golden Go, specifically that King Gambit, that Flutter Mane, the Rillaboom with high horsepower, which is also another cool wrinkle, and this one's actually Terra Fire as well, which is a really good defensive typing into a lot of the meta, into your Flutter Manes, into your Golden Goes especially. I think that the Porygon 2 slots really nicely here as anti-Trick Room, just added bulk, a good Pokemon that can be a good defensive pivot that previous teams that we've seen similar to this don't really have as much of.
Yeah, it also just really helps it can help into the Blood Moon matchup. It also just provides this team a wrinkle of speed control that previous iterations haven't really had in the past. Rillaboom's priority helps it always work in Trick Room, and King Gambit really isn't that fast of a Pokemon, and while it does have the Sucker Punch, being able to avoid your Sucker Punch mind games and just have your speed control with Kowtow Cleave is super, super important. And could give the team another wrinkle that it didn't have before. And I keep saying this, P2, I know it gets the +1 every now and again, or more times than not from the download, and that +1 is important. It's an important multiplier, but still, it does way more damage than you actually think it does most of the time. And you can pick up some at +1, some very surprising 2 KOs with Terra Blast.
I'm not a fan of the Terra Poison.
It's very good because you don't you resist the...
You resist all the
fighting types.
Grass moves running around. You resist
close combats.
Yeah, it's a big it's resisting the close combats and Moonblasts. And
I guess my thought process is I guess Terra Poison is better than Terra Ghost currently on it, because the rise of Dark Urshifu has really picked up as well. And we see the King Gambit here as well. So I think not being weak to those dark moves is probably better than being weak to ground type moves right now. Because if you look at ground coverage, there's this high horsepower, and then there's like Lando, and that's really it.
And
Yeah.
the Ursalunas too.
Yep.
Yeah, that is also true.
But like, yeah, you just Ursaluna a lot of the time, even when you have something that takes that Earth power is super effective, you'd much rather be clicking your Blood Moons or your Hyper Voices in most occasions.
Yeah.
And I think that just the Terra Poison is specifically really good for dealing with the close combats from Urshifu. That's a good resisted hit there. Poison is like a really great defensive Terra. I've been preaching the Poison Terra type Bible since I've been using Terra Poison Garganackle back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, having that while also incidentally making Fluttermane like have to really think about what it's going to hit you with, especially on these choice specs variants, is really, really great. You're normal type, so it can't really safely click Shadow Ball into you, and then you can go Terra Poison, and you're locked into Moonblast, but that's doing about 7% of my Terra Poison Eviolite Porygon 2. So, it does a little bit of both there.
I think the other thing that is important, I know you also have the Ice Beam here. The Ice Beam is mainly for Tornadus, Landorus, and the Dragons, but we started this out. I was saying how there were so many grass types in the top 12. Wellspring Ogerpon, Rillaboom, Heartflame Ogerpon. All of these Pokemon fall to that Terra Poison, Terra Blast. So like specifically the Ogerpons, Ice Beam will be neutral into them. Now you have Terra Poison, Terra Blast. You're able to threaten them with super effective damage. Same, and again with the Rillaboom, getting that stab super effective once you Terra into these Pokemon that are very high usage. I think that's very important as well. So
one other thing I'd like to mention is that Terra types Fairy is the highest with 23.3%. And I know a lot of those are coming from Fluttermane, but you also have Raging Bolts and Gouging Fires that are also, this Terra Fairy.
Yeah.
Indeedee, Golden Go. It gives you, some good options into that. And like into this team, the Golden Go is going to look to Terrasilize into Terra Fairy if it's being brought. So you actually have a decent answer to that after it does.
Yeah. Going through some
interesting note about like the Terra Fairy as well. There's 3 Pokemon that are over like 10% usage of Terra Fairy. The third one being Farigiraf.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, that one too.
That is another like very notable one. Running around with I don't know how many of them were carrying D-Gleam. Give me 2 seconds, I can tell you that. But that is like something to be remembrant of. Over half of them were carrying D-Gleam, 51%.
Yeah, Farigiraf kind of splits into like 2 separate versions. It has like the Hyper Voice, Psychic Throat Spray version, and then it has the Psychic Noise Dazzling Gleam support option. And it kind of picks between the two most of the time. So
I need to talk to the Ally Switch Farigiraf player. I just want to talk.
Yeah, Farigiraf's got some crazy best of 1 stuff that it can cook with. So
yeah, remember when like close sheet Ally Switch was like one of our like just the biggest like issues with the form, like with the game, and people would just freak out about it, and it just isn't a thing anymore. And honestly, I'm not
because they nerfed it. They nerfed
also
the crap out of the move. It was so bad that we banned it in UDL one season because Ally Switch was so overpowered and annoying. It was in the in one of the Dynamax formats, I believe. We literally had to ban Ally Switch because of how frustrating it was for Dread.
Ally Switch literally won me my RTT match. Like,
yeah,
it is Ally Switch is single-handedly the reason I have an RTT title.
Just going over the other teams, a lot of them have a lot of similar parts, and while in the grand scheme of things, while I think that this is a very it's a very diverse format, we are getting to the point where even within the diversity, there's going to be a set group of Pokemon that you're picking from. When you look at the next few teams, the next 4 teams, all of them have an electric giraffe. The other priority giraffe, you have
Still not a giraffe.
3 of the 4 of them. I'm ignoring you. 3 of the 4 of them have Ogerpon Wellspring. You have a pair of a moon, and the one that's not Ogerpon Wellspring has Ogerpon Heartflame. You have 2 Dark Foos plus a Water Foo. You have 2 Flutters. Like a lot of the parts are about the same, and what you're seeing here is the balanced teams and these balanced cores really starting to form, where there's even like these balancey teams have a lot of offense in them. Like the Victor Medina's team here, it's a balanced team in its core. You have the Fire Water Grass, you have the Flutter Water Pond combo. Raging Bolt just adds so much bulk to any team that you're running, but then you also have the super offensive Pokemon in Chi-Yu plus Lando Eye. You could do the Flutterfish lead, and Single Strike Urshifu just does a ton of damage. Even like Francisco's team here, you do have the Tailwind mode. He opted for Goldango as his ghost type. He has the more bulky Fire Water Grass with Instant as the fire type, but a lot of the parts are the same. They might be playing it, but they're playing different roles. They're moving to different places. So I think that's just an interesting thing to see, where that's like the point in the meta journey we're at, is people have really started to figure out these balance teams. Then you have Fevzi here, who brought a very hyper offensive team with the Torn, Glim, Darkfu trio that just honestly blows holes into teams. And Fevzi instead, he actually used Entei instead of Chi-Yu as his offensive fire type. Entei has been on the downturn after a very, very hot start, so to see it play its role on this team as the offensive fire type while adding a little more bulk than Chi-Yu would is an interesting take on the team and an interesting take on the Pokemon. Also, it's Sash Flutter, guys. Like that's crazy.
Sash Flutter is really good.
I hate
it.
Flat.
Is really, really
I
good.
hate it. It's too good.
With the Stellar Terra as well.
The number of times I've been bopped by it on ladder is just like too upsetting.
Yeah, Sash Flutter in like best of 1 closed team sheets is obnoxious.
It truly is.
Yep.
I love it.
Can confirm.
So that's really all we have. Like, is there anything else you guys want to talk about for Dortmund?
I'm currently going through every giraffe team and trying to find who the ally switch player is, so I can yell at them. There's a lot of giraffes, guys. Leave me alone.
I do just want to, like, he didn't do incredibly well in this tournament, but in Liverpool, this team actually, I believe, top 32 or top something. Day 2 at the very least. My good friend Ibrahim Maroof brought this really awesome Latios Galarian Weezing Blood Moon Farigiraf team. And it did really well at Liverpool. I know James Beck just featured the team on his channel as well. So we didn't get to shout him out because I wasn't here for our Liverpool coverage, so I wanted to make sure I shouted him out today.
I think we did cover this team. Just looking at it, we did not. Well, Ibrahim, our apologies.
Yeah,
I am going to ask a question, and maybe you know the answer to this. Why Clear Amulet Blood Moon?
I do not know. I think that this team might actually be different from his Liverpool team. I'm going to do a quick little check over on that. It could be.
It could be the snow. It could be the. It could be. It could also be fear of snarls.
Snarl spam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably more than likely. more than likely it. Let me just check the Liverpool team if it was the same. It was Life Orb on the Liverpool version.
Yeah, so the Life Orb is the standard item on Blood Moon Ursa Luna, so that's why I was a little curious to see the Clear Amulet, especially when I think like even another defensive item, if you wanted to go with a defensive item, so to speak, would have been Safety Goggles. I would have went with
or
that.
Covert Cloak too, because it would accomplish kind of the same things, plus giving you a fake out immunity. I know I ran Covert Cloak on my Armarouge for Knoxville, and unfortunately didn't run into any Snarl Pokemon to actually take advantage of it. And would have much rather have Life Orb.
That was like the night before he made that switch from Life Orb, and like.
No, it was not the night before.
I swear
it was a week before because we all had a conversation about it, and Carl suggested that it was a good idea. So I followed Carl on it, and it unfortunately was not the call for me. I didn't have the right matchups for it, but yeah, I think that like Galarian Weezing and just Weezing overall is really really cool, and you like pair it with this ability Shield Incineroar. Which allows you to still do your Intimidate stuff when nobody else has their abilities anymore. Yeah, I think that Eeb's team is really cool, and I just want to shout it out. So
yeah. Can we go down to 310th place, please?
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh, what do you have at 310?
I just went to see Angela scroll forever.
Ruben Brandfast. Let's pull this up.
Oh, the Galarian Zapdos has been kind of.
Ruben, who hurt you?
Oh, this is different though. Normally, this is a lot of choice items. Oh my
This
gosh.
this man hates Protect.
Almost as much as David Kutesh does.
No, it's okay. We don't need Protect. We have Ally Switch.
I will say the Terra Fairy on the Scarf Chew is definitely an interesting choice. Going for that defensive type there. When I've ran Scarf Chew in the past, I've gone for Ghosts in order to not be fake out bait. The other mon that Jay led off with, the Galarian Zapdos. That is a Pokemon I've seen pop up more and more. I think that again, being a flying type in this meta is really, really good because there aren't any, Tornadus is there, but Bleak Wind is more of a complementary piece. It's not an actual overall part of its kit. So to have, a legitimate offensively invested flying type is a niche in this format that isn't being filled right now, and Galarian Zapdos is trying to fill it, especially with its Defiant ability as a way to deter people bringing in their Incineroars.
There were 9 Galarian Zapdos. Unfortunately, the highest placing one was a 5-4 finish, so no day 2. But I actually really like this top placing Zapdos team. It is Size Spam plus Zapdos, so if they're trying to just snarl you to death with your Indeedee and Iron Crown, you can just swap in Zapdos and be like, hey, get out of here. We're also Psychic Seed Zapdos with Acrobatics. Okay, this is hold on.
A lot of the Galarian Zapdos that are doing well, not in specifically this tournament, but just ladder and other tournaments around, are running a Choice Scarf Terra Flying set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it allows you to outspeed the non-booster speed Flutter Mains and pick them off, as well as also just being a good Incineroar counter. The only issue with that is that you can still get faked out, and even on those Psy Spam teams, you're flying type, so you can still be faked out. Because you don't get the boost from your blocking priority on the psychic terrain. But I think that this Pokemon is definitely a bit underrated right now, and can definitely see some positive matchups in teams that maybe have a little bit more Protect than this one on the screen right now.
If I had to guess, it's going to be Jamie Boyd who figures it out. It's
It's
just
always
going to be
Jamie boy.
it's going to be EUIC. He'll finish top 16. Galarian Zapdos. It's going to be like, I don't know, like some weird Terra and whatever, and everyone's gonna be like, "How the hell does this team work?" And Jamie
everyone's
says,
gonna
"I don't
go,
know. It just makes sense to me."
I can't figure it out. It's a Jamie special. Leave me alone.
So yeah, so that pretty much is our Dortmund coverage. I know it's not a lot, but one of the other things that we wanted to do today is, instead of talking about what other people are playing, talk about what we've been playing. Specifically, Jay and I, we have been playing some Mons. I was able to go into an MSS last weekend, the day after we recorded. Jay was supposed to go to a PC, but
then I got sick.
Yep,
which you can literally still hear that I'm still sick.
It's not as bad as you think, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can hear, like, in the back of your throat, you can hear it.
My sniffles
it's not
and
rough,
my coughs and all that.
Yeah.
It was really bad the past few days. I was preparing and I found a team that I liked, and then I was ready to go, and like Thursday night came around and I started feeling absolutely terrible, and Friday and Saturday was even worse than that. So instead of going to a PC, I instead started to rebuild my Daily Bugle Lego set. So that was also a lot of fun. But I have been practicing quite a bit. I have been playing, and I've specifically been playing James Evans' Knoxville regional team, bar for bar, besides the EV spreads, because none of them have been public. And I've actually gotten this team to 1550 on the ladder, which is the highest I've been in quite some time. I haven't played much, but also I've been on a pretty decent run as of late, and pretty much all thanks to this team just being really well refined, really good, having some great lines into a lot of the matchups. Specifically, I want to say that King Gambit is the truth. It is one of the best Pokemon I've used in this format, period. And I love the Terra Dragon on it. I think it is really great into a format with so many grass types, water types, fire types that all are pretty threatening to King Gambit and its regular typing. Being able to set up your Swords Dance and then pick up Flutter Mains with your Sucker Punch allows that Terra Dragon to be very safe. And yeah, I think that this team is really, really strong. A few things that, like, personally I would consider changing on it is I think that Rillaboom could potentially go to, like, Assault Vest. Taunt hasn't been incredibly useful in my laddering with it. A lot of the teams that you would use it against, I haven't found that much of a use case for it. Like the Como Porygon teams, you're normally a lot slower than the Como, so you can't even stop it from setting up its Iron Defense. The Psy Spam stuff, I faced mostly like the Iron Crown Psy Spam rather than like the Trick Room variants. So that's been, they're not really trying to set up Trick Room on you, so it doesn't happen. The taunt doesn't become extremely relevant outside of the Follow Me stuff. And then I really haven't seen a ton of Farigiraf on the ladder overall. So
see
the taunt,
that surprises me. Just with like how well Giraffe has done at events and stuff here lately, I'm surprised to not see more of it on ladder.
Yeah, I think Giraffe also just has a tough matchup into this team overall.
That's fair.
I know, like, Florian, took Giraffe, played against a very similar team to this one, and ended up winning against it. That was a lot due to an amazing Game 3 read where they faked out into a Flutter Mane, and that happened to Terra Fairy. Which those plays are just awesome. But yeah, like, you don't really want to bring Farigiraf, especially those support Farigiraf, into a team that can bop you with things like Fluttermane, like Landorus, like King Gambit. Like, you can cover pretty easily for Farigiraf with Sludge Bomb plus Kowtow Cleave, on with like Landorus King Gambit leads, or Moonblast plus Sludge Bomb with Landorus Fluttermane. There's just like a lot of offense here, um, that allows for some good Farigiraf counter. But a lot of the teams have been like the bouncy Urshifu, Ogerpon, Fluttermane teams, with like some unique tweaks that I've seen for the most part. Um, and I think that this team just overall has a great matchup into the majority of the meta. Um, Gouging Fire has been cool, but also like very matchup dependent. I don't think that there's like a better Pokemon to fill that slot than Gouging Fire. And it gives you like a unique matchup into Chien Pao to where you can like click Heat Crash plus Sucker Punch and just knock out Chien Pao before it really threatens you. Um, and yeah, like having the high speed stats in like Ogerpon, Landorus, Gouging Fire, Fluttermane, and then your two slow Pokemon having priority, you're both makes for really great options on almost any occasion, and specifically into Pokemon like Urshifu.
I think one of the really great things about the Gouging Fire team, or just Gouging Fire as a Pokemon, specifically in this current meta, is we are moving towards a lot more balancey teams, and I think one of the best ways to just break through a balanced team is to have setup Pokemon, and having King Gambit with Swords Dance, or even just Gouging Fire, to be able to have a bulky Pokemon that is super fast to click Howl, to put Ogerpon Wellspring at +1, to put Rillaboom at +1, to put King Gambit sometimes, depending on your Sword Stance's Defiant boost, at like +3, 4, or 5. You're able to go and say, okay, you're really bulky, you have defensive switches into everything. I'm just going to get my Pokemon to a point where it doesn't matter what your type is. I'm boosted so high, I'm going to break whatever you're doing. And that is definitely what this team can do, while also having those really, really great defensive switch-ins on its own. You have both the Fire, Water, Grass, and you have the Fantasy Core with 5 of these 6 Pokemon, which is huge. Actually, you could go Wellspring, Gouging Fire, Flutter, Gambit, and there you have both cores and 4 Pokemon on its own, and each Pokemon's playing its really good role there. A Pokemon that is difficult for this team, in my opinion, or on the more difficult side, is the AV Raging Bolt. And Landorus, while it's not able to OHKO it, you're able to chunk it for about 75% before it terras. And if you're forcing the Terra, then you can still like go, like it's going to usually go Terra Fairy, so you can just respond to that with the Sludge Bomb from the Landorus as well. So it's a lot of really, really complementary parts. Again, it's a team that, or at least an archetype I've been around a lot, just going to my locals in the earlier months of this format. My question for you, Jay, is you mentioned that, like, again, we had the version with Porygon 2 was the version that did well at Dortmund, and the P2 version didn't have the Lando Eye. Is that something that you've thought of, a potential change going that route over the Landorus, or has the Landorus been too much of an imperative piece of your team to want to make that switch?
Landorus is really good, and I think that it covers a lot of these matchups that the team might struggle with, like the Raging Bolt, like the Incineroar, which you really don't have a lot of damage whatsoever into Incineroar, especially after like your Ogerpon gets intimidated. Having Landorus being able to come in and click Earth Power afterwards is great. Being able to one-shot Urshifu is amazing. The other thing, too, with Landorus that's really cool is the other day I was playing against one of the AV Raging Bolts, or, I believe it was AV Raging Bolt. And in order to survive Landorus at this point, they needed to click Snarl. But I had King Gambit on the field at the same time, so while they were able to Snarl up and get my Landorus a little bit down, my King Gambit was boosted all the way up to, +6, I believe I got it to, with a Swords Dance and Incineroar earlier on. And it's just like...
Your Sucker Punch kills everything.
It killed literally everything. After a Swords Dance, you're knocking out just about everything that touches the field. It's amazing. Like
they look at you funny and they're getting KO'd. Like,
yeah,
literally. And like I said earlier, it becomes amazing with that Terra Dragon because you get that Swords Dance up, you're knocking out every single Fluttermane that's walking, the earth. And with the black glasses rather than the safety goggles, you really get those sucker punch opportunities. That's the one other thing that I like Taunt Rillaboom for is the Amoonguss matchup, is that you can taunt and you can also just turn and Grassy Glide when you need to into whatever partner is there. The priority spam of Rillaboom plus King Gambit is really good. I think that the biggest thing with this team that I would consider changing is the Rillaboom to potentially AV with U-turns, that you have better pivot options and a bulkier choice. And I feel like there's got to be a better move option than Breaking Swipe for Gouging Fire. I know like dropping attack is really, really great, but you're also using a 55 base power spread move that even when you get up multiple howls is not really doing anything. No. And that can become very problematic, especially when there is a lot of Terra Fairies. There's a lot of fairy types, that are traditionally fairy, like Fluttermane. That spread damage doesn't become all that impactful. The Heat Crash is a great move, and it covers for a lot of those options there. But I just think that Breaking Swipe loses you a ton against other dragon types. Like, you're not doing much to a Raging Bolt. You're not doing much to other Gouging Fire. It's one of those moves that's just such a low base power with a great secondary effect that I don't know. I feel like for Gouging Fire, there's got to be... There might be something better that we just haven't seen. I do think that, just thinking about it, like, Incineroar could be a slot for that Gouging Fire on these teams. It does bring in a different dimension. It just also adds another fighting weakness, which the team kind of does struggle with a little bit already. But, like, you have that Intimidate. You're adding in an extra Fake Out that way. You have... your fire type damage, so you're still doing a lot of what Gouging Fire is trying to do, just at a slower pace. Like that the booster speed, Gouging Fire is really great. So fast. Yeah, it's really great for dealing with like Chien Pao specifically, where you can go and Heat Crash plus Sucker Punch, or Heat Crash plus Sucker Punch into like Urshifu or something too. There's just a lot of really good options around it. I do think that Sash Fluttermane is fantastic, though. I think it's also incredibly underrated in terms of best of 3 formats. You're allowed to, just go max speed, max special attack on it, and not have to worry. It's like really safe for you to lead it and not Terra sometimes in front of like Urshifu Wicked Blows. And I love Sash Flutter.
What is actually really great about Sash Flutter in particular, you outspeed like all non-booster flutters because most of them are not like max speed, right? And then you're able to deal like so much extra damage because you're also max special attack. Like I think those two in particular makes it where the fact that you will always be able to take a hit and fire off essentially 2 hits because you're going to outspeed them and then take whatever hit they're going to dish at you and then do another hit is like, it's such a big deal.
Yeah. And like the other cool thing with this team too, and specifically with King Gambit, is that Tornadus teams, the Tornadus Tailwind, which does have a good matchup into, a lot of the Pokemon here. have to really, really think about what they're doing with their Tornadus at all times. Because if you happen to get an incidental Bleak Windstorm speed drop onto King Gambit, the game's over. It's just done. You did 11% to the King Gambit, but you gave it a +2 boost in its attack, and now it's just going to sucker punch you for the rest of the game, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, I think that this team is really good. Obviously, James Evans did fantastic with it at Knoxville, bringing it all the way to second place. And I've just been playing with it with pretty standard EV spreads across the board. I did steal Angelo's Ogre Pond water spread.
It's a good
the
spread.
rest has been pretty. It is a really good spread, by the way.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. The rest has been pretty much standard, just like max HP, max attack, max speed, max special attack stuff. Besides like the gouging fire, and the team it really cooks. It's a really good team. So yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, one other thing I was going to add with the Sash Flutter main, and one of the reasons why I think it's a lot better now and why you're seeing it now is that with Urshifu Rapid Strike being on a downturn, it still does pop up in day one, but there's a lot of stuff on this team to really stop it. Specifically, as you said, like the Wellspring Ogre Pond, the Rillaboom, even the Landorus is able to one-shot it with its Earth power. You're able, like, you aren't, like, against Surging Strikes, your Sash doesn't matter. Well, now that multi-hit move is not really something you have to worry about, so the Sash is back on the menu. I did not run Sash Flutter. We're going to go to the team that I ran in my, this is the OTS for my first MSS that I ever played in. I finished top 8, and this was a fun team, so I believe it was watching Knoxville Regionals. I was talking with my team building group, and Jacob Lintimon, they texted me. They're like, "Hey, do you want to do Dragon Dance Roaring Moon stuff?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So this isn't an original 6. This 6 was used by Jody Azzarelli, and I believe the winner of the Melbourne region also used this 6 as well. And it's a relatively standard balance team. You have the Incineroar, Ogre Pond Wellspring as your Fire, Water, Grass. Amoonguss provides redirection for Roaring Moon. Flutter main is, I'm not going to get too into like my spreads, but the Flutter main is max speed, so 252 Timid, Specs Flutter, and I feel like that's actually starting to become a big thing that's popping up. But it is really nice to know that your worst case scenario is a speed tie against pretty much all non-booster flutters. And rounding out, you have your double dragons. Raging Bolt with the Assault Vest does not die. This is one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the format, and it also puts out a massive amount of damage, whether you're hitting Draco Meteor or going Terror Electric with your Thunderbolts and Thunderclaps. Snarl's also really great into Flutter Mane, into opposing Raging Bolts. It's just the parts all work together really, really well. The main modes of the team, it's again just picking the right 4 Pokemon and getting everything into position. The main damage dealer on the team is this Roaring Moon. It's the attack booster with Dragon Dance. Once you get to that +1 with the attack booster, you're able to knock out a lot of stuff, whether it's with the knockoff or the acrobatics. One thing to note, if you are using Roaring Moon, is like, especially like this set specifically, is that until you Terra, knockoff is always going to do more damage than acrobatics, because you don't have that flying stab yet, assuming that the Pokemon that you're targeting still has the item. So when you attack into a Pokemon, if they have an item, use knockoff. If they don't, use acrobatics. And if you did Terra into the Terra Flying, then you want to pretty much just always click acrobatics into any like neutral hits and such. So I also have some notes. This is like, initially the idea for us was to do like an impromptu team report, I have my team report notes. I'm not going to go through everything. I do have some fun like little things to bring up. My round one opponent was Zach Weed. He played a Porygon 2 Iron Hands balanced team. The set went 3 games, and my favorite part was in game 2, we both had our flutters on the field, and I was feeling very confident because I knew I had the max speed flutter. My flutter moved first with the Shadow Ball to knock out his flutter main, and he looked pretty surprised about that. And my note says speed tie flutter question mark. Sure enough, turn 1, game 3, his flutter main goes first and does a lot of damage to my flutter main. And I'm like, speed tie flutter confirmed. Zach and I, we're pretty. So Zach's one of my USPA players on Team Rest of New England. I've played him a few times. It really sucks having to do a team kill in round 1, and the set was a very, very close set. And Zach is a new senior as well, a new master as well, a young buck. And towards the end of the game of this set, we take our headphones off. I'm like, Zach, about to give me a heart attack. And he said, I know, that's my win con, old man. So my round 2 opponent was Jacob, who we ran the exact same team with the exact same spreads. And it was literally speed tie the best of 3. I lost. Speed ties
That sounds
fun.
atrocious.
So in the mirror with this team, and with a lot of these balanced teams, I think like the big thing, if you're playing balance, I actually, my first 3 games were against balanced teams, and it really came down to what I said earlier. When you're playing against balance, having a Pokemon that can boost to break through the defensive pivots is huge, and it just came down to like who's like, well, for round 2 it was whose Roaring Moon got set up with the Dragon Dance first, so it wasn't a speed tie anymore. It was just their Roaring Moon was faster. With my round 1 opponent, same thing. Like games 2 and 3, it turned into Roaring Moon got set up, I got a Dragon Dance off, and I was able to get 2 or 3 KOs with it before it went down. My round 3 opponent it was a Formon mirror. Instead of the Roaring Moon and the Amoonguss, they had Goldengo and Darkfu. And again, it was game 1, I let them get their Goldengo to +6, and that wasn't fun. Games 2 and 3, I was able to get my Roaring Moon in position to just get a Dragon Dance off and knock off an Acrobatics through his team. I was able to be on stream round 4 against Safan Ma, Pengi, who was running a Glimdozo team, and at that moment I realized that I had 0 Glimdozo practice, and so that was a loss. And the final round of Swiss, I went up against my friend Cage with a Sun team, and it was a really close game 1 with Ogrepon putting a lot of work in. But like for game 2, he led Fluttermane Chiyu, I led Fluttermane with Bolt, and then I saw that his Fluttermane was Booster Special Attack, so I knew that my Flutter was faster, and that allowed me to make a play of Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam plus Thunderclap into his Fluttermane, and I was able to just take out the Fluttermane turn 1, and just like his Chiyu really didn't do a lot of damage into the Bolt or the Flutter, and from there it just snowballed. So I make top 8 as the 8th seed, and I play against a hyper offensive Tailwind team, Joao, who is a member of the USPA Team Massachusetts team. Super close 3-game set, with him taking games 1 and games 3. The end of the 3rd game really wasn't that close. I didn't have many notes on it. It pretty much turned into I just couldn't position my Ogrepon to get in front of his Glimora or his Chiyu with speed control, and it turned into like the Glimora and the Urshifu in the back really just breaking through my team instead of me being able to break through his. So in general, it's a super fun team. I think that if you've used any sort of like balance teams in the past, it's a super easy team for someone to like pick up. I was able to top 8 my first MSS only using the team for like 5 or 6 days. So it's really fun to play. Um, yeah, that's it really. Do you guys have any?
How was Taunt Instant on this team over like something like Knockoff or Throat Chop?
So the taunt was specifically for. I think it's similar to the Rillaboom for you. It was specifically for um, Trick Room matchups, and to an extent is also like it's good into other Incineroars, stopping them from being able to parting shot themselves. It's good into the Amoonguss. While my team does have a lot of Amoonguss hate, just stopping Amoonguss from clicking anything but Pollen Puff is super useful. Um, Also, like you could stop Ogerpon from clicking Follow Me, which is nice. You can stop setup Pokemon outside setup Pokemon not named Goldango from setting up. There was, I think, in the game 2 of my no, it was game 1 against Jacob. They went and taunted into my Roaring Moon when I tried going for a like they were able to position it where they were able to taunt in on a switch in, so I couldn't go and Dragon Dance the following turn. So like I was forced to attack, and sure I had the booster attack, but I didn't have the ability to get that extra attack or match their Roaring Moon speed with that Dragon Dance. So it was it's a slot that I think could be switched. I know like other people have played the team have used Helping Hand in that taunt slot, and apparently that was really good. I think Helping Hand Incineroar is something that we were like, oh, that's a thing that it shouldn't have gotten because it doesn't like Incineroar doesn't need any help, and then no one's really tested it or tried it out yet. But it could end up being useful on turns where you don't want to click Flare Blitz and you don't want to party shot. You want to like stay in because you have like it's just a good defensive piece there. But the other moves it'll do aren't going to get a lot out of it. You can just click Helping Hand and make your partner do more damage.
It's also good against all of the like opposing fake out users as well. It's like they're guaranteed to like get an attack off with Incineroar, but in open team sheets where your opponent knows that you have Helping Hand, then like they just don't target your Incineroar, which then gives you the mind game of, well, now I'm going to Flare Blitz into your Rillaboom because you think I'm going to Helping Hand.
Yeah, or you can parting shot to pivot out. Another change I could make. This was something that was on the team original. Well, the original team. So Jody ran Will-O-Wisp in the taunt slot, and we decided to go more with taunt. And the Icy Wind was actually Perish Song. Since we are a super fast Specs Flutter, we thought again we're faster than pretty much everything in the metagame that isn't booster anything that's booster speed. And there isn't any other like you have the Dragon Dance here, but there really isn't speed control on this team anywhere else. So the fast Icy Wind Flutter main with the choice specs as well, like you're going to do some incidental damage into a Pokemon like into the grass types in the format, into Landorus. You're going to do a decent-ish amount of damage with it, and then get the benefit of dropping speed. To let whether it's your Ogerpon outspeed opposing Flutter main, make it so that your Roaring Moon might not need to set up a Dragon Dance. If the booster attack is already enough to get the KO on certain Pokemon, you might just want to start swinging with it, and the Icy Wind makes it easier for you to do it. Or like you could do like Icy Wind plus Snarl from Raging Bolt to get off a faster damage mitigation, and to have like you have speed control and damage mitigation between the two mons. Yeah. Also, shout out Jess for letting me use her Raging Bolt because I have Violet. Actually, I was looking at this team. If I didn't have the DLC, I would be able to, and like I didn't like make trades with other people. The only Pokemon I would be able to get on this team would be Amoonguss, because you need DLC for the Ogerpon, you need DLC for the Incin, and all of these are found in Scarlet. So
pay to win, baby.
Yeah, that sucks. Pay to win or have a lot of friends. And again, it's like all of these Pokemon here I got from friends. I mean, there was that. I know that they did have a Fluttermane raid event, which again, like you have to pay for the online, but you have to pay for online to play in these tournaments anyway, or to play in majors anyway. But yeah, it's something that I was just realizing as I was looking at the team that I wouldn't have been able, like with the version of the game I had if I didn't have friends or like $35, I wouldn't be able to get these Pokemon, which kind of sucks for the game sometimes.
Agreed. I really do like this team, though. I think you have a lot of cool options here that work really well together. Roaring Moon's something that I do believe in.
It's the star of the show.
I think that it's a really cool Pokemon, and like Helping Hand on Incineroar would help alleviate some of like that Intimidate problem that Roaring Moon has, because you can just like Dragon Dance, and then even if you're intimidated, you're still getting like that +1 from the Helping Hand. It also helps a lot with like your Raging Bolt and your Thunderclaps, and Fluttermane. Specs. Fluttermane Dazzling Gleams plus Helping Hand is crazy damage. I know on when I brought Helping Hand to Knoxville with Fluttermane, there was one game where I was just able to click Helping Hand plus Terra Fairy Dazzling Gleam every single play, and it just blew up the other team. It was awesome. So, but I do see like Taunt's importance on this team and shutting down some of the Pokemon that like you might struggle with, and like shutting down Follow Me specifically, I think is a cool variation that I maybe don't think about as much as I should with like the Rillaboom.
Honestly, it's something that again, it's something that like I just picked that up, whether using the Pokemon itself or it being played against me in that sense of the taunt. Like you can taunt more, even just taunting Pokemon to stop it from protecting the next turn, so that you know that your Raging Bolt can safely Thunderclap and you're getting that damage off. That you're like that it adds more certainty to whatever play that you're making, that you could target into a slot now, and you know that whether they switch or they stay in, I'm getting damage off, and that in itself is just even with OTS where we have a lot of knowledge given to us to start. Having knowledge is so important in this game in your decision making. Knowing that you can go into certain slots and make certain plays with a high level of confidence is just a better thing for you to have over your opponent. If you just know that your play is going to work more than they know that their play is going to work, they have to now adapt to what you're doing, and when you're setting the terms of engagement, it's especially with a team like this, it's really, really great. With balanced teams in general, all you're trying to do is getting into that position to where you can put your foot in the gas, and your opponent, whether they're worn down or they just have the wrong 2 Pokemon out for the 2 Pokemon that you have, and now it's like you're the one putting on all the pressure, and you can get as aggressive as possible. And that's what this team can do, and what a lot of these balanced teams can do. Raging Bolt, Fluttermane, Roaring Moon, and Ogerpon can all take KOs at any point in the game. And even like honestly, like Instin's Flare Blitz, like it's a base 120 power move off of what Instant has a 125 base attack stat, 130
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
just
in that range.
125, something like that.
A very high stat, especially for a starter Pokemon. It could do a lot of damage.
115.
Yeah, that's going to do, even like like only like a 4 investment. You're doing 50% into a lot of Ogerpon Wellsprings at when they're pre-Terra. Like that's a lot of damage. Also, Pollen Puff does like 50% into Terra Grass Glamora from Amoonguss, and that is just an adorable calc.
Yeah, the Pollen Puff actually has good offensive capabilities in this format with like Rillaboom, Ogerpon, and a lot of the Terra Grass stuff. Like you said, I think that like Amoonguss, it's a great Pokemon, but like having the ability to go offensive with it against certain matchups, but also play defensively with Pollen Puff is a really cool thing.
Yeah, like also part of clicking Rage Powder or Pollen Puff next to a +1/+1 Roaring Moon, where it's never going to get hit because you're taking a KO, and the Amoonguss is just redirecting the other Pokemon. It's just so good. Like really, I think it's honestly, it was the star of the show. Having that physical flying, like having just a consistent flying type attack is so big in this format, and I wouldn't be shocked if Roaring Moon takes off a little more at EUIC.
Did win a UIC last year, right?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yeah, Palchua won. Yep. Yeah,
You got
it
better
was.
memory than I do.
It's time again.
Yeah, it's going to happen. The last time Carter, I was going to say the last bird Carter played with was Dodrio.
Dodrio was fun, man.
That was a great video. If you have not watched our Dodrio video, after listening to this, go watch the Dodrio video. It's actually one of the best laddering sessions that we've had recently.
Which, dude, it sucks because that video is not done well on the channel.
I don't know why.
But
I learned what Tangle Feet did.
I had to go look it up. I legitimately had to look up the ability because I did not know.
Yeah, that team was awesome. The video was great. So make sure you go and watch that.
We actually got to click Giga Impact, and it did.
Dude, multiple
times.
So I was looking.
Giga.
I think the next event I'm going to is probably the second, depending on what the boss says. If she approves of me going, then I will. And that's just our local PC, no big deal. There is a PC on the 27th. It's a Tuesday night. No, excuse me. This is a Tuesday afternoon. Registration starts at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Good luck getting off for that, bud.
No, absolutely not. I'm not driving an hour and a half on a Tuesday to go play a premiere, like a PC.
Taco Tuesday.
I was scrolling through and I saw that. I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah. We have a ton that happen in New Jersey. There's not a lot that happened on Long Island, unfortunately. So I unfortunately missed my opportunity by getting sick for quite some time. So it's gonna go back to the dark ages for me of not really playing too much.
Just come up here because I'm not kidding. We have multiple events.
Angelo has like 6 extra rooms you could sleep in.
I don't. I have a couch, and honestly, you could definitely fit.
Wow! Imagine having 6 extra bedrooms and then offering a couch.
Insane.
Where do you think I live?
In your 6-story mansion, obviously.
No. No, I don't. I have an apartment. I pay rent.
And with that, I think that it's time to go through the people who pay our bills and make sure you guys support the channel.
Go watch the Dodrio video.
Make sure you go and watch that. Also, thank you all so much for watching this week's podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that fun YouTube stuff. Check us out on Twitter at LR Lessons. Go check out the website, lrlessons.com. Come hang out in the community Discord, which will be linked below. We hang out there and talk sometimes, and we're running our weekly dojos, which I have to play in after this. And that's a fun way to get some points and also get some practice. With that, make sure you also check out our Patreon and our Discord supporters link. Shout out to Johnny Bravo Sr. and Papa Swish for your support on Patreon, and shout out to Smeargle for your support on Discord. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.
Bye,
Peace
guys.
out.